Doctor. Doctor.
1960s Doctor Who, particularly the first 3 seasons, produced a wealth of original incidental music soundtracks. Though composed by a variety of talents with varying musical personalities, virtually all of these scores were entirely acoustic in orchestration. Save for the odd electric organ. Not every story was so lucky as to receive the full musical treatment, but there was an alternative. At the time, the BBC housed a considerable Graham's library of recordings on both vinyl and tape. By agreement with both music publisher and broadcaster, these recordings were pre-cleared for use on television. Many productions, for cost-cutting as well as creative reasons, used library music for their incidentals. In availing themselves of the library, directors had a further advantage, particularly when it came to science fiction. For their far-out space adventures, it offered the gamut of daring, avant-garde, impractical to commission recordings. Notable tracks used and reused in Doctor Who are by composers such as Eric Sidé, Martin Slavin, and the French ensemble known as Les Structures Sonores. One 60s composer was luckier than the others, and I don't mean that other guy. He was luckier later. This chap was lucky in that not only did he create highly effective soundtracks using both traditional and avant-garde methods, but viewers and listeners of Doctor Who had several chances to rehear his library of cutting-edge electronic music. Tristram Cary was the son of a prominent novelist and an accomplished musician, and served as a telegraphist in the Royal Navy towards the end of World War II. Over the next several post-war years, with music and technology in his brain and war surplus readily available, he built his own electronics studio, one that predated the BBC's radiophonic workshop. His studio's first fruits were soundtracks for radio. Cary's first big film success was an all-orchestral score, the 1955 black comedy The Lady Killers, starring Alec Guinness, Herbert Lom, and Peter Sellers. Several acoustic ensemble scores followed, including Disney's 1962 production of The Prince and the Pauper. Soon, with film and radio credits bolstering his reputation, television directors came calling. They certainly desired his ability to compose for ensembles. They also desired his particular, and at this time peculiar, skill at crafting tracks realized electronically on tape, known as musique concrète. These talents brought him to the attention of director Rex Tucker. Having worked together recently on the BBC's Jane Eyre, Cary was approached in June 1963 to score Doctor Who's opening story. In the event, Tucker left the production beforehand, so nothing came of that. But he did commission Cary for Doctor Who nearly 3 years later, for something very different indeed.
When there's blood upon the sawdust in the last chance saloon.
Luckily for us, Cary was hired in about August 1963 by director Christopher Barry to provide instrumental music for a 6-part series called No Cloak, No Dagger. Barry subsequently became the primary director of Doctor Who's second story, a certain non-event called The Daleks. He knew just who to call for his far-out incidentals. If you've watched my initial Season 2.5 video, and honestly, who hasn't, you know that Tristram Cary's musique concrète score to The Daleks is literally unique and arguably overshadows all efforts of the first season's composers. It alone matches the singular modernism of Delia Derbyshire's Doctor Who theme realization. Indeed, Cary essentially used the same methods to produce his soundtrack, and there is evidence that he was one of the first people in the world to create music in this way. Cary's electronic Dalek music holds another unique distinction in Doctor Who's history. It was reused repeatedly for other stories' incidentals, almost like it was stock music from the Graham's library. Why these tracks were available, though, is not always easy to explain. My video, Record, Reuse, Recycle, quantified the Dalek soundtrack's actual use versus the total recorded. This video's aim is to document the subsequent stories where Cary's tracks are found, and in particular where portions unused in the original production are heard for the first time. I'll document tracks from a later Cary commission that were also, somehow, available for reuse. I'll review the evidence showing how directors gained access to this music. Finally, I'll explore if these Dalek tracks were ever found outside of Doctor Who. Those who are deeply interested in this subject, perhaps even more than I, might wish to seek out my Tristram Cary Doctor Who track lists available on Patreon. Doctor Who's first season had been a rousing success, thanks to the Daleks. Extermination! Their popularity and the programs was confirmed with the second story of Season 2, The Dalek Invasion of Earth. But this success came with inevitable change.
Goodbye, Susan. Goodbye, my dear.
The Doctor's granddaughter, Susan, left the TARDIS to make a life for herself. She was, obviously, never forgotten.
Susan! Surely it's Susan!
Grandfather! Oh, Grandfather! Grandfather, go back.
A replacement companion was devised for the next story. The Rescue was penned by David Whittaker, the show's recently departed story editor, i.e. script editor. The Doctor, Barbara, and Ian arrive centuries in our future on a planet the Doctor recognizes. After some exciting adventures, 2 episodes worth anyway, they rescue the orphan Vicky and invite her to join their travels. Christopher Barry, director of 4/7 of the Daleks, led this production. As this was a story set in the far future, and given his recent acquaintance with Cary's tracks, his choice to reuse such suitable music is easy to understand. Let's start the rescue with my usual bookkeeping, their P-as-B timings. Known for their inconsistency in the 60s, as I have documented, they are admirably decent here. They differ from my timing by only 24 seconds in Cary's bank account's favor, and good for him. The first scene with music is when the TARDIS crew alight into a cave. So naturally enough,
"'Tis a cave, you were right, Doctor."
the track is, using the commercial releases titles, The Cave 2. Originally from the Daleks episode 7, the track supports both that scene and subsequently where the teachers survey a crashed spaceship from a cliffside perch.
Barbara, look!
There is 42 seconds of new music heard here, partly at the outset of the first scene, but mostly in the latter scene.
You see on the side, a flag? It's from home!
Congratulations! This music, combined with that heard in the Daleks, means we viewers and listeners have now experienced the complete 2-minute, 19-second track. As Barbara and Ian seek the light, a grotesque humanoid called Coquillion, who, mild spoiler, has a secret, appears from the shadows and examines the TARDIS.
Ian?
Later, Coquillion confronts our friends on the cliffside and blocks their retreat. This segment of the track, Forest with Creature from the Daleks 1, should be, in this story, renamed Coquillion Theme. Congratulations! The complete segment, including 7 seconds previously unheard, accompanies the creature's shocking introduction. Coquillion has menaced Barbara off the ledge, perhaps to her death. Later, the final stings of the track Rising Tension from the Daleks 5 underscore her fate. During 4 new seconds of ringing gong, a shadow falls over her unconscious body.
I wonder how much further, Doctor.
The Cave 1, a very underused track from the Daleks 6, is redeemed in the rescue. Ironically, the 14 seconds found in the original are ignored. Most of the rest, about 1 minute 44, finds purchase in later episode 1 scenes, where the Doctor and Ian try to find another way out of the cave. As the passage narrows, they observe fearfully a roaring sand beast below.
Yes. It's got eyes. I saw them. Gleaming.
The cliffhanger sees Ian nearly compelled off the path's edge by protruding blades.
Hold the torch for me, please.
In episode 2's reprise, the latter 2 cues of the track The Ambush
Give me a hand.
support the drama. As these were featured prominently in the Daleks 4,
Daleks, the Thal people wish to live in peace.
no new music is heard here.
Never mind about all that. Come on, give me a hand. Barbara's still outside. She might be in great danger.
What is new and complete, congratulations, is originally heard during the Daleks 1, the second cue of the track Thing in Jungle. Tension-building scenes in episode 2 cut between Vicky on the plane, seemingly unaware of the looming sand beast, Barbara in the spaceship, and the Doctor and Ian about to emerge from the cave. Presented here are 10 seconds, new to us all, of this strange whistling. The climax of these scenes, Barbara's tragic confrontation with the sand beast, begins with 2 clips of Radiation Sickness from Daleks 2 that feature 16 new seconds.
Vicky!
What's inside a Dalek is 3, quote, musical options depicting the horror of Dalek death. While the third version is found in the Daleks 3, the first 19-second version debuts here complete. Congratulations! Poor Sandy, the sand beast, befriended by Vicky, is killed by Barbara in a misunderstanding, while nearby, the Doctor and Ian react to the beast's terrible cries. The climax of the story, set in the People's Hall of Judgment, sees the Doctor confronting Coquillion and exposing the truth. The awesome aura of this hallowed place is represented by City Music 1 and 2 from Daleks 1. These two cues, grafted together, are not quite complete, but involve 22 seconds of newly heard music, most notably the former cue's ringing effect.
Why are you frightened?
Heard 3 times in the story is the track Rising Tension from the Daleks 5, which features a wonderful low-register wind sound, like a contrabass flute crossed with an Australian didgeridoo. Most prominently, the entire 1 minute 6 second track, Congratulations, underscores the decisive scene where Vicky's shipmate, Bennett, whoever we thought he was, gets his comeuppance. Using 8 minutes 23 seconds of discrete music, viewers and listeners of The Rescue experienced 3 minutes 59 seconds of brand new music from the studio of Tristram Cary. But wait, there's more. This original commission, Cary's third for the show, inspired him to produce brand new musique concrète and acoustic ensemble tracks, and a bit of both. Certain ensemble recordings were electronically treated, or more descriptively, bent. There's 2 reasons I'm talking about this story, and I'll come back later to one of those. The other reason is that, in one single instance, Cary recycled himself. Well, okay, this was possibly at the request of director Douglas Camfield. Despite recording an hour of original music for this epic story, Cary reused City Music 1 for an early scene in the climactic episode 12.
Your assistance, although welcome, is entirely unnecessary.
Here, insanely power-mad collaborator Mavic Chen, deeply resentful of an insistent Dalek escort, guides at gunpoint companions Stephen and Sarah through the Dalek underground base. The track is looped and sped up in both cases. Those keeping score will delight in knowing that, congratulations, the track is heard complete, though this instance yields merely 1 second of music unheard in either the Daleks or the Rescue.
Excellent!
Hey, that's not none. But wait, there's more. By season 3, the only thing Doctor Who fans found truly familiar was the Doctor, the TARDIS, and the Daleks. In addition, the second half of that season, starting now, saw one producer and script editor team begin the transition to another. With the Doctor accompanied by one established companion, Stephen, and a brand new companion, Dodo, Paul Ericsson's The Ark told 2 stories. In the far, far future, humanity, referred to as the Guardians, is escaping a dying Earth on a vast spaceship, together with an alien race called the monoids, who, to be honest, are slaves. All aboard face a dire threat inadvertently brought by the time travelers. In a unique twist, the second half of the 4-episode story sees the TARDIS crew return 700 years later. With the Ark arrived at its destination, they find that the monoids are now overlords, the humans their slaves. With another futuristic story needing suitable music, director Michael Imeson, in his only credit on the show, somehow found Tristram Cary's music available to him. Though Cary is credited as composer for all 4 episodes, I must mention for completeness that the second cue of episode 2 is an actual library track, timpani music by percussionist Robert Farnon. Meanwhile, the Ark's total Cary soundtrack is 12 minutes 41 seconds, cut to 9 minutes 10 in the PSB documents. The opening track of the Daleks 1, Forest Atmosphere, also opens this episode 1 in its only repeat performance. Though briefly interrupted by another track, when it resumes, viewers and listeners are treated to 16 seconds of fresh atmosphere. That interrupting track is Forest with Creature, previously heard complete as The Rescue's Coquillian theme. Nearly complete twice in episode 1, it punctuates the introduction of the monoids. The second cue from Thing in Jungle was also heard complete in The Rescue. And now the first cue, used in the Daleks 1, where Susan is frightened by a tap on the shoulder, gets its chance. A monoid has spotted the travelers in the Ark's jungle preserve and reports it to the Guardians. This scene, congratulations, completes the track with 6 previously unused seconds.
Strike the child!
The primary theme of the Ark is rising tension. It's used 9 times over all 4 episodes, and we hear 6 more seconds of it, but only compared to the Daleks.
Morris.
Meanwhile, that track's concluding stings from a separate cue are used 6 times. Congratulations! Its final iteration in episode 4 marks it for the first time as complete. The third most popular track was a big surprise to me. Although found on the released soundtrack, its omission from the Daleks bred in me some misunderstandings about it, but these are now thoroughly dispelled. High Sound and Heartbeats is literally 2 simultaneous tracks. The Cave 2 and Heartbeats from the Daleks 7 and 6 respectively. The heartbeats are relatively subtle, so when I first heard this music in the Ark, I thought it was the Cave 2 only. Thankfully, I had guidance from a wise Patreon in hearing the truth.
The last moment has come.
With 5 iterations, the story features 21 seconds of the 2-minute 6-second track. 3 chances are given to hear The Fight, originally from the Daleks 4.
Stay where you are.
In the build-up to the monoid battle in episode 4.
Do as I say.
Previously heard complete, it is almost complete here. 5 further tracks make up the Ark soundtrack, and all 5 offer brand new music to the ear. City Music 3 debuts 3 new seconds in the episode 3 scene, where the Dr. Dodo, Yendom, and Monoid 2, so close, enter the Refusians' castle.
I mean he's going to be all right, my dear.
Barbara loses the rope. The extended sting from Daleks 6 is...
Now!
Congratulations! Essentially complete in one of the final cues of episode 4.
Master!
It includes 5 new seconds from both the beginning and the end of the full track.
Over there. You have been warned. Thank you.
Captives of the Daleks and Funeral Chords, unused since the original, are heard only once in the Ark, yet offer 2 and 3 new seconds, respectively. The final cue of the story, in the scene where the statue containing the Monoid's bomb is ejected into space in the nick of time, uses the sting cue of the swamp. The ending 17 seconds are heard, 12 seconds of which are new to us. Adding that to the track's opening portion, used in both the Daleks 5 cliffhanger and 6 reprise, makes it complete. Congratulations! All in all, the Ark uses only 5 minutes 23 seconds of discrete Tristram Cary music from the Daleks. Out of 1 minute 24 seconds unused in the original story, as much as 1 minute 9 seconds had never been heard before. But wait, there's more.
It's over.
With the Doctor sporting a fresh new face, a new body, and a starkly different character, the Daleks returned to soften this blow to viewers' expectations. Writer David Whittaker, with script editor Jerry Davis and ghost editor Dennis Spooner, crafted, in my opinion, one of the finest Dalek stories of all time. Imagine, you know the Daleks are ruthless, conniving killers. But no one in the human colony believes you. Not just for 12 minutes.
I am your soldier.
What?
I am your servant.
But for 6 weeks. Director Christopher Barry helmed here his 5th Doctor Who production. Not surprisingly, for both a futuristic story and a Dalek story, he returned for a second time to Tristram Cary's music. There's always a twist, just not always at the end. This is by far the most complicated musical story to tell, but I am duty-bound to explain it most thoroughly to my Patreons. Here, I'll sum up. The PSBs credit Cary with 51 minutes 16 seconds of music over this 6-episode story. I think you'll find, so I say, the music totals 38 minutes 49 seconds. The difference is almost entirely due to Episode 1's PSB crediting him with 19 minutes 30 seconds of music. That would be over 3/4 of the entire episode. My total is considerably less, so yes, I have thoughts. Perhaps this PSB generosity was intentional, as an apology. That's because for the first 3 episodes, the production forgot to credit him in the on-screen end credits. To be clear, all 6 P as Bs properly credit Cary, so he was paid. This oversight, formal though it may be, mattered. How in 1966 would other directors know of his good work if he wasn't credited on the only ever transmission of the episode? So, with these behind-the-scenes stories at least hinted at, patreon.com/Jess Jerkovic for more, I turn now to the tracks director Barry used. High Sound and Heartbeats, the unused track premiered in the Ark, returns here, but there's no way my pea brain or my cloth ears would have caught its use in Power of the Daleks without help. Get ready, viewer, to cover your ears. One of the first cues of any kind, music or sound effects, is The Doctor's Transitional Trauma by Brian Hodgson. That track depicts overpoweringly the after effects of a never-before-seen regeneration. This attack on our ears has another track overlaid atop it. Or is it underneath it? Yes, it's High Sound and Heartbeats. 44 seconds, including 23 brand new, if almost inaudible, seconds, are buried in these 3 segments. Probably. After the new Doctor, Ben and Polly, emerge from the TARDIS onto the planet Vulcan, no relation, a 5.5-minute scene takes place in a mercury swamp. Not surprisingly, Cary's track, The Swamp, from the Daleks 5, is the sound effect atmosphere. Except for a few dramatic cuts for other music that I'll discuss later, the entire scene is underscored by this bubbling soundscape. Constructed by looping the first 2 of the track's 5 individual cues, 30 brand new seconds are found here. The same loops support Episode 6's return through the swamp to the TARDIS, concluding the story. Another track reused extensively via looping is The Ambush from the Daleks 4. 3 individual cues make up the commercial track, and the first cue, always in a loop, is by far the most often used.
Molly, babe, come in and meet the Daleks. What? The Daleks.
It's featured, for example, in the Dalek revealing cliffhanger of Episode 1 and its resolution in 2. It also supports the 3.5-minute build-up to Episode 4's amazing cliffhanger, as scientist Lesterson discovers, to his horror, that the Daleks are mass-producing. The second ambush cue,
I knew I should find them here.
recognizable by an increase in pitch and intensity, is found in Episode 1's final build-up, also looped.
There are 3 Daleks in here.
As well as several scenes not looped in Episode 6.
I am your servant.
The third cue is inaugurated by a ringing chord.
I gave you life.
Yes, you gave us life.
Following the previous cue without pause, it's heard only during the Episode 6 climax, where the Daleks exterminate Lesterson, but the Doctor begins fiddling with their power supply, turning it against the Daleks. Heard to completion, it provides 15 seconds of new music and, congratulations, means the entirety of the ambush is audible at last. There are several other Cary segments premiered here. Inside the City from the Daleks 3 is reused for the first and only time in the lead-in to the episode 1 scene where all are assembled to see Lesterson try to open the capsule. The fact that the track starts from the beginning allows 3 new seconds to be heard, and thus, for us, the track is complete. Congratulations! Fluid Link, music from the Daleks 4 cliffhanger, is used 3 times in Power, only in episode 2. An extra 2 seconds of final ringing is found here, and this makes the track virtually
all that is needed to wipe out this entire colony,
but not technically complete. Congratulations anyway.
We are not ready yet to teach these human beings the law of the Daleks.
The ending sting portion of Radiation Sickness from the Daleks 2, distinct from the main track reused in the rescue, is repurposed 1 time each in episodes 3 through 6.
I hope it works.
Extra bits from the beginning and end add 4 new seconds to our oral experience. Captives of the Daleks from Daleks 6 occurs 8 times, almost all in Power's final episode. One particular instance, underscoring Dalek exterminations of the colonists, adds 6 new seconds, making the track complete. Muted congratulations in the circumstances. Speaking of inappropriate celebrations, Funeral Chords from Daleks 4 is also, at last, heard to completion. Memorably used in a loop in episode 6 while we survey the victims of the massacre, the concluding loop adds the ending button for the only time in the series. The track called The Daleks, heard memorably in the first 2 episodes of the original, is reused in Power for the only time, albeit reduced to the opening sting.
Extermination.
You'll hear it 4 times, almost all in episode 1. Rising Tension, the primary theme of the arc, receives only 1 short iteration here, in episode 2, where Lesterson is about to reveal he has found an inert Dalek and kept it for his own experiments. Much more popular musically is the ending sting from that same track. It's used 5 times, including revealing the scientist's secret.
They won't stop me experimenting.
One track sets a probable Doctor Who record.
Look at the ice stick, it's watching us.
You may remember that previously I marveled at Simpsons' alien theme from the War Games, used 18 times over 8 episodes. The first segment of Thing in Jungle is used 20 times over 5 episodes.
You're my servant, are you? I am. Very well. Immobilize yourself.
Although the track was heard complete in the arc, its first use in Power 3 is also complete. The climax to episode 6, where the Daleks lose control and explode thanks to the Doctor's cleverness, is musically extraordinary. Director Barry depicted this via a chaos of tracks. Mixed into the sound effects is the following: 3 clips of Demented Dalek from Daleks 5. 2 versions of What's Inside a Dalek, the crying version debuted in The Rescue, as well as the original version from Daleks 3. And finally, difficult to hear, the same take of 5 explosions from Daleks 7. Christopher Barry used only 7 minutes, 20 seconds of discrete music from Tristram Cary's Daleks soundtrack. 2 minutes 31 seconds of that music was unused in the original, and managing to eclipse the arc, 1 minute 25 seconds of brand new music was heard only in The Power of the Daleks. But wait, there's more. I suspect that at least some of Tristram Cary's music was, by this point, accessible to the production without asking him, so directors could simply grab it off the proverbial, or perhaps literal, shelf. This is substantiated by several other tracks used in the first 4 episodes of The Power of the Daleks. The previous season's The Daleks Master Plan is significant for more than just a random reuse of City Music 1. Several of Cary's musique concrète tracks made for that story also, somehow, were available, and director Christopher Barry took advantage. Interrupting Episode 1's swamp atmosphere for 3 separate dramatic turns is 15 seconds of Daleks Disintegrate, the final track from Master Plan 12.
Ah, so you've come at last. I'm from Earth. I'm the examiner.
Now get on with your work, man.
A single sting from the middle of Power Episode 2 uses essentially all 8 seconds of The Victim 3 from Master Plan 8. Twice heard is Growing Menace, track 2 from Master Plan 12.
He's in the communications room.
Used for 39 discrete seconds in Power Episode 3,
Doctor?
it's most prominent in the scene where Janley lures Polly into a trap.
I am your servant.
The most popular track is from Master Plan 4, Requiem for Katerina. Its searing high notes are first heard in a 37-second loop at the cliffhanger of Power 2, where the devious Dalek demonstrates its willingness to serve humanity despite the Doctor's warnings.
I am your servant. I am your servant. I am your servant.
These Master Plan tracks add a further 1 minute 39 seconds, bringing the total up to 8 minutes 59 seconds of discrete music that makes up the nearly 39 minutes heard in the story. But wait, there's still more. Just as a sequel story assured the longevity of the Daleks in Season 2, the introduction of the Cybermen in Season 4's The 10th Planet inspired the production team to recommission their co-creator, Kit Pedler. Working closely again with script editor and other cyber creator Jerry Davis, this sequel, screened a mere 4 months later, was titled The Moonbase. The story's director, Maurice Barry, distantly related to Christopher, availed himself of Graham's library tracks by several composers. The 10th Planet, headed by another director, also featured library music. Perhaps unintentionally, Maurice, maintained series continuity by reusing 2 Martin Slavin tracks for musical depictions of the Cybermen. Amongst the others he chose were tracks from Tristram Cary's Daleks Master Plan soundtrack. In this worst instance of BBC ignorance and/or apathy, Cary was not credited in any way for 3 minutes 52 seconds of his music used during the 4 episodes of the Moonbase, neither on screen nor on the PSBs. Nearly all of the Cary music heard in this story is Growing Menace, the Masterplan 12 track already reused in Power. The most extensive use out of 4 instances is in the episode 1 scene where crewman Ralph checks the food store. Ben comes to assist him, but while he is away on an errand, Ralph is shot with an electric bolt fired by an unseen shadow of a creature. 1 minute 57 seconds of the 2 minutes 9 track is heard in the story. 3 further Cary tracks are stings. Sting 3 is from Masterplan 4. Only the middle of 3 segments is used for single dramatic stabs in Moonbase 1 and 2. One repeat is The Victim 3, a 2-part sting used twice, including the only music of his heard in episode 3.
Quick, get out of there!
Sting 1 originates from Masterplan 1. This is used but once in Moonbase 4, just as the Cybermen fire their laser cannon. A total of 2 minutes 8 seconds of discrete Masterplan music is found in the Moonbase. But wait, there's no more. So, after Tristram Cary's Daleks soundtrack received replays in 3, actually 4, further stories, what are the final tallies? At least, the tallies I'm willing to live with. As I've discussed, the commercial releases often merged cues into single tracks, such as those that make up Thing in Jungle, The Ambush, and The Swamp. In fact, this merging might very well be how cues are presented on Cary's master tapes. But, having come this far, I now think each individual cue should be counted as distinct. And of course, I must add high sound and heartbeats to the account. That means my new grand total is 48 tracks. Cues. Either. Either. And after factoring in a few other slight adjustments, my complete soundtrack total is now 29 minutes 25 seconds of music. Recalling that 16 minutes 23 seconds from 38 tracks, another updated total, made it into the Daleks, in adding all subsequent stock musical debuts, the total used rose by 6 minutes 30 seconds and now totals 22 minutes 53 seconds from 41 tracks. That's over 3/4 of Cary's Daleks soundtrack that found life at least once in Doctor Who, with repeat fees. For this period, that's extremely good. Recycling tracks was obviously a thing, but only via the BBC's Graham's Library, and not with original BBC commissions. Contracts for these commissions had extremely restrictive provisions attached to them, which meant, essentially, they couldn't be reused. Merely having such music played during the final camera rehearsal cost the production extra cash. Tristram Cary's musique concrète tracks were obviously a special case. They were so labor-intensive to produce that it made practical sense to reuse them rather than to reinvent the proverbial wheel every time a commission came his way. When I started making this video, I wondered whether the BBC had actually made Tristram Cary's soundtracks stock, allowing them to be accessed from the Graham's library whenever directors desired. That turned out not to be the case. Most of the time, Cary was involved in and aware of the reuse of his music in these stories. In practice, the initial reason his tracks were reused was Christopher Barry's familiarity with them. About 2 months before telerecording The Rescue, Barry tried to ascertain if copies of Cary's music were still held at the BBC. Perhaps he did think it was stock. Happily, the composer was willing to forward his own master tapes for the director's use. The 18 selected tracks, I count only 13 cues used, were copied, and Cary's masters plus one additional tape discovered in-house were returned to him. It is possible at this point that the tape copies made for The Rescue found their way into the BBC's, perhaps merely Doctor Who's, library. The use of City Music 1 in Daleks Master Plan 12 is a strange anomaly, considering how much music Cary had already produced for the story. Perhaps a last-minute need for music by Douglas Camfield demanded that Cary plunder his past output. No paperwork survives as to how exactly Michael Imeson got a hold of these tracks for the Ark. This lack of documentation, sadly common for Season 3, does not in itself suggest foul play, mainly because all on-screen and PSB credit was given to Cary. Without evidence either way, we can't be sure if the composer's masters or copies then unknown to him were drafted for this story. Cary's memory was imperfect when twice interviewed in the early 2000s for a Mythmakers video and what would posthumously become an article by Mark Ayres in the 2015 DWM Music Special. The former interview benefited from Cary's access to his extensive tape archive, jogging his memory. This was most revealing regarding Power of the Daleks. Cary was involved in musical discussions early in production, and this suggests new concrète tracks might have been requested originally. Though he doesn't recall specifically, he may have recommended reusing tracks from the Daleks because of work overload. Whether he also recommended reuse of master plan tracks is not clear, though again the PSBs seem to have the musical quantities covered. Even so, that Cary was uncredited on screen until episode 4 was a pretty serious... Insert your own phrase here. Obviously, the most egregious case is the Moonbase, as his master plan tracks found their way into the show with no credit in any form. I can say, however, that tracks from the Daleks were, it seems, all sourced from the composer's archive. Except maybe for the Ark. Meanwhile, did Cary ever recycle these tracks in productions outside of Doctor Who? Thanks to some generous Patreons, I've managed to view nearly 24 of his film and TV credits, spanning 20 years of work. Quite a few of them, like The Ladykillers, are orchestral or otherwise instrumental in nature, so no recycling there. I came across some confusion regarding the soundtrack for the 1967 film Quatermass and the Pit, which features both orchestral and conclette music. The 2004 DWM review of the Devil's Planets CD states surprise that much of the, quote, sound of the Daleks was actually music by Cary. I definitely concur. But it cites an example. This statement, although perhaps not meant literally, warranted investigation. Several electronic tracks for the film have sounds strongly reminiscent of those found in Dalek's Master Plan, and this makes more sense. His techniques would have advanced since 1963, and the Quatermass music is more likely to resemble his comparatively recent work. He may have recycled discrete elements in creating these multi-layered tracks, but no single track has been recycled, certainly not from the Daleks. What about the other way around? Was Cary recycling himself when he made his Daleks soundtrack? Listening to The Japanese Fisherman, one can certainly hear similar techniques, but probably no copying. The most likely suspects for recycling are any projects in the year or so surrounding his work on the Daleks, which spanned 7 weeks starting in mid-December 1963. Let's investigate. The Silent Playground, released New Year's Eve 1963, concerns the medical and police efforts in responding to a rash of poisonings. It stars Bernard Archard, later to have a main role in Power of the Daleks, and Desmond Llewellyn, famous as Q from many James Bond films. Though there is also music for flute and percussion, Musique Conclette supports tension-building scenes such as these.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Get the manager, quick.
Similar to Quatermass versus Master Plan, a few of Cary's tracks for this film resemble sounds from the Daleks. These distorted gongs, for instance, though the timeline might make it the other way around. Also, in this playground scene, Cary's whistling texture resembles the second cue from Thing in Jungle. Similar, but not recycled in either direction. Daylight Robbery, released in December 1964, is another contemporary drama and also involves children. 3 friends are accidentally locked into a department store as it closes for the weekend. After finding a potential escape route onto a neighboring construction site, they unwittingly become caught in the middle of an attempted heist on the bank, in between the site and the store. Once again, Cary's score features both an acoustic ensemble and musique conclette. Specifically, there are 3 conclette tracks. One is a windmill effect, used both singly and overlaid onto both electronic and acoustic tracks.
What do you think you're doing?
Although a brief segment of The Swamp, heard only in Power of the Daleks, resembles the sound, it reminds me most of an element of molecular dissemination from Master Plan 5. But that was the future. The first track that is reminiscent of the Daleks is used 8 times, though it's mixed subtly in the film and thus easily unappreciated. A plaintive, high-pitched whine sings aloft a concrete texture below. Daleks tracks such as Forest with Creature, The Storm Continued, and The Cave 2 have similar features. I tried in my previously revealing way to overlay these tracks with robbery tracks, but I couldn't quite line them up, no matter how much I pitch adjusted them. They are tantalizingly similar, but I believe are not recycled. There is one track, however, that I may be able to give you viewers an aha. First, listen to this, the opening segments of Sting found at the end of the Daleks track, The Swamp. Now, 22 minutes 41 seconds into Robbery, listen to this concrete track used only once for this dramatic scene.
We're here.
But there's no one here.
Never mind about that. Come on. Keep going.
Though I had to raise the pitch of the swamp track to properly compare them, that's extremely similar. I am willing to say that Cary recycled this track for Daylight Robbery. As with city music in Master Plan, its single inclusion makes me wonder if Cary had to come up with something fast. I have been wrong before, but I am at least 95% sure. You'll have to be content with this. I am. Tristram Cary was a pioneer in the field of electronic music, but let us not forget that he was also an accomplished composer of acoustic ensemble and orchestral music, as well as pieces that mixed the two media. That sort of double or triple threat, orchestrating his own scores on top of all his other skills, is perhaps becoming more rare these days. In the realm of Doctor Who before Dudley Simpson was king, Cary was the luckiest composer of the 60s. He landed 5 original commissions, the avant-garde electronic textures of the Daleks, bookended by 1972's The Mutants, the American Western cum Greek chorus ballads of the Gunfighters,
In the last chance saloon.
and scores that mixed both the acoustic and the electronic, like Marco Polo and the Daleks Master Plan. Thanks to his unusual talent and luck, one commission in 1963 became 3 extra fees. Until it later became possible to make a living writing production music, the commissioned reuse of these electronic tracks was a coup for this busy composer. Tristram Cary moved to Australia in 1974 to take a university post, though he remained active in all his avenues of composition. He passed away in 2008. Yet, everyone who cares about the origins of electronic music will never forget his contributions, at the very least, to the show we all love.